Hi, I'm Dr. Kurt Perkins, and whenever I sit down with someone for the first time, what I want to make sure is that they understand their diagnosis is not their destiny and their symptoms are not stupid. All symptoms are is your body buying you enough time to escape whatever's ailing you. So when we leave our first appointment, this is often what our conversation looks like. Let me explain. Now, when I say no symptom is stupid, it's just an adaptation of what's going on in the body. And we're all basically two-faced. So we have two sides of life. One is to help us be protected. The other is for growth and recovery. Now, all this is mitigated and organized by your brain. So when I'm looking through your paperwork, through your lab work, through your symptoms, your story, I'm putting it in the context of one of these two closets. Most often, if something is going to be stressful, if it's going to be worrisome, you'll be shifted over to this protected mode. If something's happy, you're going to be shifted over to this growth mode. So on a daily basis, you should be able to straddle this on a microsecond by microsecond basis. What happens is with chronic illness is that people have been shifted over here through toxicities, deficiencies, and it could be chemical, emotional, social, who knows, physical, more often than they start shifting to the recovery. And so what happens is your body sees you over here long term and says, I'm going to create a new default set point. So the first thing that happens is your brain will talk to one major organ, your adrenals. And you all know this from adrenaline, but also catecholamines, epinephrine, norepinephrine. So if you're allergic to bee stings, you get the EpiPen, this is what's happening. So we'll call those the cats. So let's say you're out hiking and you run into a bear. You're not gonna wait around to see if it's full or lost its teeth or it's old. What you're gonna do is react no matter the situation. So adrenals release these hormones, catecholamines, and it'll boost up your heart rate. It'll jack up your blood pressure, blood clotting is gonna go up, and your respiratory rate is gonna go up. So if you take that list of symptoms into your doctor's office, guess what they're gonna tell you? You have heart disease. So within microseconds, your body intelligently gave you heart disease in order to survive this bear attack. So these are not stupid, they're an adaptation, and when we label them stupid, we lose chances of survival. Now, the adrenals will also release another hormone called cortisol, and its prime role is to dump sugar into the blood. Now, we've all been told sugar in the blood long-term is a bad thing, but if you don't release this into your bloodstream, you don't have the energy to escape that bear attack. Here's the problem. You can never be in protection and growth at the same time. You can flip-flop within microseconds, but long-term, your body's always gonna err on the side of caution and favor survival over growth. You're gonna maintain the next 30 seconds over the next 30 years. So if we have high blood sugar, we have checks and balances, and what's gonna happen is another magic hormone called insulin gets released to make sure you don't go into a coma with high blood sugar. Again, the problem, you can't be in protection and growth at the same time, so what happens is you become insulin resistant. So now you have high blood sugar, insulin resistance, and your doctor labels you with diabetes. Now, most times when we think insulin resistant, we also think obesity, but don't think just your midsection. The first place we become insulin resistant is actually your liver. And why this is going to be a problem is because then we develop a fatty liver, but your liver is the great multitasker. So for example, one of the biggest symptoms people come into me with or diagnosis is their thyroid. One of the factors in creating a regulated thyroid is that your thyroid has to talk conveniently through the liver. And if the liver is fatty, if the liver is too overinsulated, it doesn't receive those signals well, and then therefore you can't convert thyroid hormone to the active form. So we have thyroid problems. The other component, let's say the brain is releasing growth hormone. That has to go through the liver. And then your liver comes out with insulin-like growth hormone, which goes into bone density. So we have these big bone density problems in our country today. It's not a calcium deficiency problem, it's an adaptation long-term problem. Other components of this cortisol, so when you add another hormone, DHEA, this works on your gut. So think of your gut from the tube from your mouth out the other end. It's basically a barrier between your external environment and internal environment. And if you're running from a bear, This is going to help protect you from any nastiness that you have to encounter. So imagine you run from the bear and the thing that's in front of you is a swamp with fecal material and parasites and all that stuff. The gut says, I got you covered. And when I say gut, I'm talking about your immune system. So these two hormones together create this oil slick essentially inside your body so that parasites can't hang on to you, fecal material can't hang on to you, and then you get it out the other end. The other cool thing with that gut is that you don't feel it. So most of the times when we have an immune response, we have the flu, cold, we have the coughing, the sneezing, the achiness, diarrhea. Well, in this immediate protection, you don't get those things. You actually become anti-inflammatory. Now, here's the problem with chronic illness, is if we're always on this side, then the growth side has compromise. So DHEA will go to produce estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. So are sex hormones. So we're gonna favor survival over sex any day. You're not worried about making babies when you're running from a bear. So we have tons of hormone imbalance problems with people. Now, another component here is that this gut can't keep up with demand. You're constantly over here, worry, fear, poor nutrition, you're sitting all day, you have poor relationships, you name it, keeps you over on this side of survival, and this can't keep up with demand. So there's only so much to go around, so what should stay inside that gut tube now has the potential to leak out into the bloodstream, and there's where our antibodies start coming through. So another part of that immune system. Here's the dilemma. Your antibodies need inflammation to create this full immune response. And your gut is doing its hardest to make sure you don't have those symptoms, so the antibodies are going to override it. They send signals up to the liver. Liver starts to come down here, overrides this. Now we have this full-out inflammatory condition going on. Here's going to be your basis for virtually any autoimmune condition. So this could then go attack the thyroid, this could go then attack joints, it could attack brain, it could attack pancreas, you name it. The end game diagnosis doesn't ever tell you how you got it in the first place. What about depression, anxiety, those types of things? These catecholamines work up back out to the brain and hit a structure called the amygdala. That's your stress anxiety center. That's intelligent because next time you're out hiking, you look around the bush to make sure a bear doesn't pop out. The problem is that it's at the expense of another structure called the hippocampus. So think campus, learning, education, that. So we have stress anxiety and we have decreased memory, concentration, learning, and depending on your age, you get diagnosed with either ADHD or Alzheimer's or dementia or any of those neurological developmental diseases. So when you're coming into me, when I'm at a public talk, and you're describing symptoms, your story, I'm always putting it into context. Context is everything. So I'm Dr. Kurt, and hopefully this gives you insight into your symptoms as being smart, your diagnosis as not being your destiny, and your ability to look upstream to figure out why your body's adapting opposed to labeling this stuff as stupid.